The Citizen Report is a production of New Shannon Media. All content protected under copyright. This is the Citizen Report with Jonathan Shannon.
And welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm Jonathan Shannon, and thank you for joining me tonight. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. Thank you so much for joining me, and it's always good to be back with you. If you don't already know, the last broadcast of the Citizen Report earlier this week was removed by YouTube for what they claim to be misinformation. I'll read the email to you in just a moment. But first, my initial response officially here on the Citizen Report. What they did was nothing short of a deprivation of rights. I don't care, frankly, what the terms of service says or doesn't say. They do not have the right to infringe on the Constitution. They do not have the right to infringe on my natural God-given rights. Now, having said that, I'm going to read to you the email that was sent to my Gmail here in just 1 second. Let me share my screen and then we'll keep going. This is from YouTube Community Guidelines. It says, "Hi, Jonathan Ryan Shannon. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube video. The Citizen Report 4/26/2021, Time to Counter Censorship of Christians." We know that this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we've made a mistake, you can appeal and we'll take another look. Keep reading for more details. How your content violated the policy. YouTube doesn't allow content that explicitly disputes the efficacy of local health authorities or World Health Organization, WHO, guidance on social distancing and self-isolation that may lead people to act against that guidance. Learn more here. How this affects your channel. Because it's the first time, this is just a warning. If it happens again, your channel will get a strike and you won't be able to do things like upload, post, or live stream for 1 week. What to do next? We want to help you stay on YouTube. So please, make sure you understand YouTube's community guidelines and strikes basics. Review your content and with our policies. Let me say that again. Review your content with our policies in mind. If after reviewing your content you think we made a mistake, let us know. You can appeal this decision here. Sincerely, the YouTube team. I say again, as a man made in the image of God, and second to that, an American citizen, I have natural rights. And one of those rights is free will, is what it really boils down to. In the most fundamental sense, when I was 6 years old, asked Jesus to come into my heart. I became a Christian. I put my trust in Jesus as my Savior. When I asked him to come into my heart, I put my trust in Jesus. Now, free will also includes my ability to open my mouth and and speak my opinion, speak truth to power, and that's what I was doing on that episode. Ironically enough, I was talking about going to a different platform in terms of a Christian online Christian group, um, going from Facebook. Well, we're not leaving Facebook, but I've added Stinger.live to be part of the group, basically, as an outpost. So the irony of it is the topic itself officially on that episode was time to counter censorship as Christians. I also made certain comments about what I don't even know how to say it. This stuff and this stuff. Okay. And YouTube apparently didn't like that. So they removed it. Now, before I go further, just to let you know, you can watch that episode I produced by going to Facebook. And you can go to Citizen. You can use either web link, thecitizenreport.weebly.com or citizenreport.tv. I have linked it there, although you will have to copy paste it to get there. But you can also go on my Facebook page, which is where it actually is. I upload it there as a public post. So if you want to share it, please share it. Help me out there, and I will greatly appreciate that, obviously. And of course, if you were on my text message notification list, you were notified. You were sent a message with that link. So if you haven't already subscribed to get a text message when a new broadcast of the Citizen Report is uploaded, you can get on that list. Go to my website, thecitizenreport.weebly.com or citizenreport.tv, and click on text alerts and subscribe and put your information in there and submit it. You can also just reach out to me personally. If you know me personally, you can do that, or you can just get in touch with me one way or another and let me know you'd like to be on that list. Be sure to provide a cell phone number that allows text messages to come in. Now, I'm going to stay on this topic for a few moments because I believe I need to address this. And I say again that my rights were violated. And I don't care what strawman arguments, if there are any strawman arguments out there, I frankly don't even want to hear it, because at the end of the day, they censor only viewpoints they disagree with intent, that is. They may occasionally accidentally censor someone they may agree with, but generally speaking, they will censor people that they disagree with. It's one-sided. And I encourage you to go back and look at that episode, because one of the things I did was read a portion of the letter of a public statement, whatever you want to call it, that was written by the CEO of Gab, basically making the argument that we as Christians need to set up our own economy, and I'm sure social media platforms. And we are seeing those coming online. That is part of the Patriots' plan to counter the mainstream narrative. It's to have Patriot-controlled platforms. You can go to Stinger.live. I don't really know the people that actually own or operate it. I just have a friend that kind of knows somebody that's in the inner circle, if you will, of dealing with that platform. You can go to Gab, obviously. You can go now to Frank, which was set up by Mike Lindell. I believe that Trump is also in the process of setting up his own platform. There are others as well that you can go to. And I believe that when all is said and done, the mainstream media the big tech, they're going to collapse under their own weight. What's going to end up happening in the wake of that, I don't know. And I have to be so careful now what I say on here. And I just want to say, if you didn't catch my live stream, whether if it was live or in playback on my YouTube channel, I made the announcement there that I am going to be migrating the Citizen Report to other platforms. I don't know exactly when that will happen. I don't know for certainty where I'm going, but I'm going to look at Rumble. I'm going to also look at Brighteon. And by the way, Brighteon is another Patriot-controlled social media platform. It's pretty much a video platform, but it's a good one. Band.video, I don't know if they allow little people like me to post things there or little operations to post, but suffice it to say, there are options out there and there are more coming. And I want to also say that I will never stop speaking the truth. I'm not going to be shut up. You will not shut me up, YouTube. I say that with all due respect, of course. I will tell you, I guess this is a good opportunity to bring this up, that I have wanted to work in TV news. And I am now to that point where I've kind of been flirting with this thinking for a number of years now. But I do not see how I can work in TV news in its current form. Because pretty much all of them, there may be a rare exception here or there, but pretty much all of them in general are either controlled by bad people, gullible people, I don't know, or they get their national, international news from wires that are themselves globalists. So I don't know what that means for me in the future. Yeah, I went through school, Ben can tell you, I went through, a community college. I got an associate's degree in broadcast production technology. I'm still at a Christian university, or I then transferred out to an online Christian university to get a business administration degree that has an emphasis on communications, because my goal in mind was still to do broadcasting. But what I see today is a complete one-sidedness, that if you are a conservative, and if even more so, you're a Christian, your worldview is not only disparaged, it's shunned. Again, there are exceptions to this, and I will say that there are local TV stations that seem to be better than others, and depending on which market you're talking about, we'll say. Like let's say the Ozarks, for example, their TV market might be more conservative leaning than, say, Charlotte. Same thing if you compare Knoxville to Nashville, or New York to Tallahassee or Gainesville. You can make comparisons, and I'm not saying there's this perfect place. I'm certainly not making that suggestion, and I guess I'm getting off on that because it all ties in together, really, because I'm not saying that it's okay to just be completely, well, let me rephrase what I was fixing to say. Basically, if you're going to be biased, be transparent about it. That's what I do. I will tell you, I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. I am transparent and open about that. But there are people in the mainstream media that will have you think that they are completely devoid of bias, or that if they are biased, they try to masquerade and play it up like, oh, well, this is just common decency. Like they're trying to push, putting stuff on your face. Okay. That's somehow okay to be biased in that way, of course. But if you're a Christian, you can't, and you're a conservative, you don't have your viewpoint is not welcome as a journalist. There are, as I said, good journalists, but it's an uphill battle. So let me get back to the topic at hand, that is YouTube censorship. But I felt like that was important to bring up. Let me bring up for your consideration, because really the topic of this broadcast is to address censorship. That's what it's about. I want to bring this up because I think this is a good illustration of where we're at this point. We're basically at the point now where if basically the media presents something and it's the opposite, or it's not how they present it. If they say that this stuff is effective, it's not effective. If they say this is ethical or safe, perhaps it's not. 15 seconds. I want you to look at this. I think this is a good illustration of what my point is with that. So that's my point. Now, I want to get back more squarely to YouTube, but again, I again stress all this ties in together. It's all interconnected ultimately. Big tech, mainstream media, they're all trying to push a certain agenda, shall we say. And I have to be so careful now what I say. And I just want to say what I really want to say, but I can't. So, but of course you understand why. But let me pull this up. This is the terms of service for YouTube. You'll understand why I'm bringing this up in a moment, but right now I'm down at the bottom here. Now they update these things from time to time, but generally speaking, governing law is one of those things that stays pretty constant through those revisions. Usually, it says governing law. All claims arising out of or relating to these terms or the service will be governed by California law, except California's conflict of laws rules, and will be litigated exclusively in the federal or state courts of Santa Clara County, California, USA. You and YouTube consent to personal jurisdiction in those courts. Okay? Did you get that? YouTube is saying that I, as a user, agree to their terms. And the argument can be made that I agreed to be censored. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because you cannot arbitrarily enforce something when you only enforce it to one side. Same thing with the mainstream media. They say that they're objective, but they're really just presenting one side, one narrative, and everything else is either distorted or ignored. Now, I want to bring this up. This talks about free speech on social media. This is what it reads. This is a different website. It's just, someone's opinion, but I think in this particular part, I think is pretty interesting. It says, quote, "These social media companies are so big that they resemble modern-day public squares where speech is given greater protections than they might otherwise be given on private property. One court case, Prune Yard Shopping Center versus Robbins, upheld additional free speech rights given under the California Constitution for speech exercise on some private property like a shopping center because of the public nature of the location. Similarly, since the internet and social media websites often function as modern-day public forums, its users should be given similar protections against censorship for their free speech. Now, why did I bring this up? And why did I bring up about where its terms of service would be litigated if a dispute was raised? Well, let's go look at it. Let's go look at this. Prune Yard Shopping Center versus Robbins. That was the court case that was just mentioned on that other website. This was argued and decided in the year 1980 in the U.S. Supreme Court. It basically means that someone on private property in certain cases in California had the right to free speech. That they try, people try to make that when the First Amendment says, and let me see if I actually have it. Bear with me here. I'm having to deal with this thing about the Zoom software. Okay, First Amendment. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Let me go back to that court case now. Now that I've read that, now people try to make the argument that the First Amendment only, that this is applicable to Congress and then in a more contemporaneous sense, the government as a whole. But in this court case, it says, no, it's not just the government where free speech is a guaranteed fact. It's also in certain cases on private property. Now, this case, according to Wikipedia, it says, in American constitutional law, this case established two important rules. Under the California Constitution, individuals may peacefully exercise their right to free speech in parts of private shopping centers regularly held open to the public, subject to reasonable regulations adopted by the shopping centers. Under the U.S. Constitution, states can provide their citizens with broader rights in their constitutions than under the federal Constitution, so long as those rights do not infringe on any federal constitutional rights. So what is that saying there when you boil that down? It's saying that that court decision, the Supreme Court adjudicated and decided that when you're on private property, of course, barring regulatory stuff related to the property owner, that they can impose, basically you do have a right to free speech. Now, someone could argue, well, YouTube has the right to tell someone like me that I can't dissent or disagree with a certain narrative, shall we say. And I say, no, that's not true, because one, any attorney would tell you that when you enforce something, it has to be equal. It cannot be arbitrary. And when you discriminate, because I hate using that word, because that word is just such an overused, the leftists love to use that word, and it's, just an abused term these days. But I do think that it's an accurate thing to say that I was discriminated, because I was giving my opinion related to certain stuff, related to a certain agenda, and they didn't like that. But it's okay for the mainstream media, and it's okay for certain people with a certain opinion to say what they want to say, but someone like me can't have my say. So going back now I have read that. If you need to go back and rewatch that part, please do. I want to make sure you understand what I just talked about, having to do with the Constitution on a federal level, and having to do with this court case, and also the fact that YouTube terms of service makes California the deciding point for a dispute. So I'm sitting in a chair in North Carolina. But in terms of YouTube, basically, California is the only applicable state in this matter. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm going to go sue them. That's not what I'm saying. My point being is that I want to point out what my argument is, just hypothetically at the very least. And also, if somebody else has a similar issue, take this information and maybe go talk to an attorney about it and see if you have a case, if something happens to your channel in a similar way. Now, having said that, let's go to the California Constitution, because keep in mind, every state in the union has to have a Republican form of government. Republican, meaning that every state has to have a republic. And again, I'm not, every state in the union is known, whether formally or informally, as state of whatever. State of California, okay? State of North Carolina, state of Tennessee, state of Arkansas, state of Florida. You get my point. But in other words, they're not known as Republic of South Dakota or Tennessee, whatever. That's not what I'm trying to say. What my point is that we have a federal government, but then down at the state level, they also have a Republican form of government. They have a constitution. They have a legislative branch. They have a governor. They have the equal branches of government. That's basically what I'm getting at, basically, and the fact that they have a state constitution. That state constitution is the governing document of that state, as long as it's not infringing on the federal constitution. So, having said that, and I'm trying to be very careful because I know this is a little bit complicated, and I'm trying my best to explain this in the most cohesive and clear manner as I possibly can. But let's go now to the website, a government website in California, where the state constitution is here. Because let me say this one more time, just to make sure we're clear here. Where I'm sitting does not matter. What matters is that YouTube has decided in its terms of service, and they're not, maybe, I don't know if they're legal entity, all these companies, so many of these companies are basically based on paper in Delaware, but their headquarters are physically situated, YouTube at least, in California, and so is their parent company, Google and Alphabet. But having said all that, and by the way, I don't know where the legal documents are filed for YouTube LLC itself. I'm just making the point that on their terms of service, they say California. That's all that's relevant here. So having said that, let's go now to the Constitution for California, because that's what's relevant here. Doesn't matter where I'm sitting. Doesn't matter where the Citizen Report is produced, regularly or otherwise. All that matters is that California is where the terms of service would be governed if they're, or I should say, that's where a dispute is remedied or settled or dealt with if there's a dispute against YouTube. So now let's go to California Constitution, Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Section 1 through Section 32. I'm just going to read I'm going to just read Section 1 and then part of Section 2. It says in Section 1, it reads, all people are by nature free and independent and have inalienable rights. Among these are enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and maintaining safety, happiness, and privacy. Section 2. And I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but I'm assuming it's okay to say subsection A. So Section 2, subsection A. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish his or her sentiments on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of this right. A law may not restrain or abridge liberty of speech or press. Now, this phrase, being responsible for the abuse of this right. Now, I don't know the intent of the people that wrote this way back when, but I assume that this would basically mean I cannot go and defame someone and that be considered free speech. But I do have the right to voice my opinion. So, and according to this court case, I'm going to go back to it. It says, under the California Constitution, individuals may peacefully exercise their right to free speech in parts of private shopping centers regularly held open to the public, subject to reasonable regulations adopted by the shopping centers. Now, going back to this website, this other website, neilharden.com, he's presenting a viewpoint here. I'm not sure if he's completely saying that this is what his opinion is, but just to say, so basically, well, yeah, he is. It does seem at least what I'm reading right here, that he is making this case that being that social media is like a public square, that this court case is applicable. So in other words, YouTube cannot tell me that I do not have freedom of speech. So I hope that that was informative. If you disagree with me, that's your right too. But that's where I kind of stand on this. And let me present this to you. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17, it reads, "Now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." So I, as a Christian, am indwelt by the Holy Spirit. That means I have liberty. I have liberty from sin, and I have liberty. I have liberty from sin. I have liberty, I have eternal life. And what YouTube just did is, as far as I'm concerned, they're trying to enslave me by telling me I can't have my right to disagree with a certain narrative. I am over and fed up with these social media companies telling people that they do not have the right to speak when the Constitution, although it says Congress shall not, blah, 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 you have rights that are not negotiable. They just exist. They're there. They're yours. And I want to, in keeping with that, I want to remind you of something else, because this is an amendment of the Constitution that is overlooked so many times. In the 9th Amendment, because a lot of people they kind of gloss over that, but I think this is an important thing to mention. It says in the 9th Amendment, it reads, "The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." In other words, when the Constitution mentions a certain right, the fact that it may not mention mention explicitly a right doesn't mean that you don't have the right. Another way to think about it too is that all inherent sovereignty and authority is vested in we the people. We the people are named at the beginning of the Constitution. We delegate our power. We consent to be governed by people we elect. And it's only because of that do those people have power. Because we, the people, retain ultimate authority under God, of course. So when you have social media companies that try to say that you may not speak on a certain subject with a certain viewpoint, I say, no, you have no right to do that. because and it goes back to this section 230 where they can claim immunities, from what people post and stuff. Well, they're an internet company, they're a social media platform. You are either, a utility, if you want to put it that way. I don't know if that's the right word. You are either that, whatever it is, whatever the proper verbiage is, whatever the proper word is, or you're a publisher. And if you're a publisher, you are liable to lawsuits. So YouTube does not have the upper hand here if law and order and morality, frankly, was followed. So having said that, I now want to go back to one of the things I was talking about on my last show. I'm not going to obviously bring up certain this, whatever by name, but I am going to talk about ways that, this social media platform that I was telling people they should go join. And it's called Stinger.live. So let's go to that right now. Well, before I do that, let me go back to the Awaken Aware Christians Comedy and Commentary Facebook page. And I am going to show you how Facebook is censoring. The irony there is Facebook has allowed my last broadcast to remain up. I had to render it down to a lower quality so I could get it up, more expediently. But Facebook is allowed to stay up. So I have to give them credit there, even though I can't really say much good about them as a company at all. And I think they're all in together anyway. But this is the Awaken Aware Christians Comedy and Commentary Facebook page. We have over 1,400 members, 1,400 members. Now, they are throttling back the reach of this group, despite the fact that we have over 1,400 members. Like this post I made back on the 25th. This post has reached only 30 people, according to this. Far fewer actually bothered to hit the like button or, comment on there. Now, and I can go down through here. Like 1 hour ago, this has only reached 10 people. 2 hours ago, 17. 9 hours ago, since then, 22. Since give or take 25, 26 hours, 25 and a half hours or more ago, since yesterday, 53 people. 20 hours ago, 17. And I can keep going on and on and on. Since the 27th, well, oddly enough, this one's not even bothering to show me how many people saw it, but let me go to now the group quality, because I want you to see this is a quantifiable. This is another, and there's just irony on irony here, and that I would end up getting my video censored, and yet one of the points I was making was I was showing you a quantifiable example of censorship in real time, ongoing. This is, now I should clarify, in case you didn't, go back and watch that last video, please. But in case you didn't, or otherwise are not planning to, I'm just going to tell you briefly that I'm not just a member of this group, I'm also an admin or an administrator of this group. I'm not the only one, obviously. I'm just one of, I guess, a few or several. And so I can see this stuff that members or just the public cannot. And I will tell you, I did quit Facebook for a time, but under my former account, when this group was known by a different name, I actually founded this group. So interesting tidbit there. But getting back to this point, under the group quality page, it shows restrictions. Your group's distribution is reduced due to false information. You can delete false information to help restore your group's distribution. And of course, false information, actually what it means is that they're disagreeing with the viewpoint or information and they're censoring it. And yeah, generally speaking, these posts will have a video or a post or something where it's showing certain information that they don't like. And I want to show you how many of these posts, how many things have been marked as fake news. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If I counted this right, 15 times since February 2nd, minus anything I assume that was deleted. 15 times in terms of posts that are still up, so there are actually probably more times that this was done. They marked something as false or fake. Now, warnings. Oh, now they're bringing out their enchilada. They're bringing out their big machine guns now. It says admin violations have put your group at risk. Your group has multiple admin violations and is at risk of being disabled if more occur. They removed 2 pieces of James' content that Facebook later removed for violating community standards. I don't know what this is about. An admin. Let me clarify. An admin approved 2 pieces of content that Facebook later removed for violating community standards. Privacy violations and image privacy rights on one, supposedly. And then you've got this other thing about misinformation regarding this. Look on your screen to know what I'm talking about. Now, misinformation. So again, they don't like the information, so they're removing it. It doesn't mean it's misinformation. It just means they don't like it. Member violations. These violations don't put your group at risk. 1 piece of Daryl's content was removed by Facebook for violating community standards, privacy violations, and image privacy rights. And again, that just may boil down to them not liking the content. That it might very well be perfectly fine. 1 piece of Francine's content was removed by Facebook for violating community standards. Dangerous individuals and organizations. Now, I made this point in the last broadcast of the Citizen Report, but I'll say it again here. If I recall, and I'm not saying I don't know what the content. I don't know what they're actually referring to here, but if I remember correctly, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without triggering algorithms, but a certain news operation in Austin, Texas, a certain guy there, his initials are AJ, they deem him to be a dangerous individual. At least I think they've done that in the past. Oddly enough, I think I've been able to post stuff from that outlet, somewhat recently on Facebook. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I want to say. But I don't know if it was on Facebook, but somewhere they were deeming him to be dangerous. I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is. So my point is that what they say as their excuse is not necessarily so. Now, in light of all this, because our group is at risk of being brought down, I have created an outpost, a group on stinger.live. Honeycombs, by the way, are their way of saying groups. Now, Awake and Aware Christians is on stinger.live. And here you can join, and we consider it part of our group. It's on a different platform, but we have a backup. So please go and join stinger.live, and while you're at it, go ahead and like my my page. The Citizen Report. That's me, but I post under the Citizen Report name, of course. So go there, stinger.live/Awake and Aware Christians. And then for my page, stinger.live/The Citizen Report. So Now, I encourage you again to go back and watch the last broadcast via Facebook. If you need the link to that, go to the Citizen Report website, and you have to copy and then paste the link, but it will take you right to the video. I've made it public so people can watch it. Now, let me pull this up, and then after this, I'll wrap up. This is the mainstream media saying a bunch of same stuff. Let me go to the start here, and it says, after the intro, it reads, if Fox, ABC, NBC, and CBS are all owned by different people, then why do they all get the same script? And obviously, I should clarify, these are local, most of them at least are local affiliates. You know, you do have, these networks do have their own stations that they own and operate, but the vast majority are what you call affiliates, meaning that they affiliate with the network, but they're owned and generally managed by different people. So let's play this and see what you think.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Let me pause it right there and just say something right there. First of all, I don't actually have a problem with that part because those stations are owned by Sinclair Broadcast Group, and that was a promo that was produced. I remember when this happened. Basically, all their stations were basically mandated to produce a promo for air by their local stations, and the corporate wanted them to use the same script, you know, with of course customizations for their area and such. I don't have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. Because a company, you know, they want to brand a certain way, and they wanted their local talents to do something. I don't have a problem with that. I do, however, have a problem with them using the phrase democracy in reference to our country, or, you know, our system, way of living, that we're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Because in a democracy, 51% of fools can tell the other 49% to jump off a cliff. In a constitutional republic, the majority can run off a cliff, but I don't have to. Do you see what I'm saying? Because we have inalienable rights as men and women created in the image of God. So now, from here on out, now this is what's ridiculous, because here you have AP, Wires, and CNN. I don't know where they get these scripts, but it goes to show when it comes to actual news, because I don't have a problem with promos, but when it comes to actual news gathering, instead of being journalists and researching information, they just take a wire and put it into their system where it loads up on teleprompter and they just read it out. That is ridiculous, because I don't have a problem, because, you know, a local TV station, they're not going to have the ability to go send someone out to what's happening in Israel or London, you know, far away places, nowhere near them, you know, or even in the country, unless it has local directly has local relevance, shall we say, if there's a local connection to a national story. But in most cases, it's not a problem necessarily to take a nationally produced story. But then again, I do have a problem with anybody using CNN because their credibility is non-existent. I mean, it just isn't there. But what I have a problem with is them just putting it into the teleprompter without, they can take the information and type out in their own way, in their own style. I don't have a problem with that. But they just literally load this in to their system and it runs out on teleprompter or script, whatever. This is what's ridiculous. Now that is what you're about to see. So let's watch this, or part of it.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
Well, a child's happiness is priceless, right? Especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday. A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on their birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially when it comes to their birthday.
Absolutely. A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
Well, a child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's smile is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
You know, a child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday.
A child's happiness is priceless, especially on a birthday. You like that?
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
All right, I think you get the point. Okay? And again, I actually don't have a problem in of itself with using a teleprompter. I really don't have a problem with that in of itself. It's just that when they fake this like, oh, I'm being relatable because they're being conversational, but all it is, it's a script that was produced far away from them by somebody else. That is a huge issue. And that just proves, again, it's all centralized. All this information is centralized. So if they're doing that for little puff pieces, because, grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter with those things. With the Easter Bunny and, whatever that first part of that local news montage. But that I was talking about with actual news stuff. But my point being is that's what we're talking about with the mainstream media. The journalism is dead. It just is. And when you have someone, I'm just saying, when you have someone that dares to disagree, they do everything they can to shut it down because they don't want it. They actually don't care about freedom of the press. They only care about freedom of the press if it benefits them. That is it. So the American people is getting to see all this right now. The patriots are allowing the people to see all this right now, and it's meant to wake people up, frankly. And I do believe people are waking up, but a lot of people still need to wake up. And I hope there's somebody watching this that may not be fully awake before this broadcast, and maybe now their wheels in their head are starting to turn. The gears in their mind are starting to think a little bit. It's like, maybe what he's saying could be true. So, and I stress, please go watch the last broadcast of the Citizen Report. You won't find it on YouTube because they pulled it down, of course. But you can go to stinger.live on my page there via the Citizen Report. You can go to my personal Facebook page. It's a public post. And you can find the link. You have to copy and paste it. Also on thecitizenreport.weebly.com or on citizenreport.tv. Either one gets you to that site. And copy paste the link from there, and it takes you to my Facebook public post where you can actually watch a video. So please go do that. So, having said that, that's all I'm going to do on this broadcast of the Citizen Report. God bless each and every one of you. I appreciate your support. Please help me by sharing this video. I say, and I'm not just me. I don't mean that as a cliche. I'm asking you to please consider sharing my video because that helps my reach a little bit, because my reach is quite limited. I can only do so much personally. So when you share the video, that immensely helps me. So please do that. And if you want me in return to share something, I'll share it. So I want to support fellow Christians. So God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for watching the Citizen Report. And again, if you want to send me something you want me to share, if you're a fellow Christian conservative, feel free to do so. So thank you for watching the Citizen Report, and God bless each and every one of you. And I will see you right back here again next time. Have a good night, everyone.